This is a quick explanation. A lot of people ask about tending the Hitch Hiker, and with the small eye, this tends very well with the lengthened shackle. That's how it tends, and it goes up. A lot of people think that you can tend a Hitch Hiker by screwing a hole in here or attaching something onto the body and lifting it up. Notice how easy that goes up? But if I try to lift from here, it doesn't go up. You can't lift it up because that's how those engage. The weight of just the carabiner here is enough to pull down and engage the friction on the rope. So if you try to pull up, all you're doing is that pulls down, this pulls up, and it pushes against the rope all the harder. So it's just, you can't tend from there. You have to tend from here. Now in original hitchhikers, what you'd do is you'd put something on both sides of the carabiner and that would disengage it and you'd pull it up that way. This doesn't need that. It tends right from here. So this is a hitch I'm trying. So far, I really liked it. Yesterday, I climbed about 50 feet. I set this up as a frog walker. And as you know, a frog walker, you'll take a step with your foot ascender, and then this is connected to a tether. So every time I take a step, I'm weighting and unweighting that hitch. And it seemed to work pretty well. I'm going to continue playing with this and trying it. What I've discovered in trying a lot of different hitches is that most of the time, if you look at a Canute, a Distal, a Machoacan, you'll find some kind of crossover down here at the bottom part of the hitch. And one thing with the Hitch Hiker is at times it's difficult to get them to engage properly. I mean, that can be that way with any hitch on any system, but we want them to engage properly even when you're leaning back into the system. Mechanicals will do the same thing. If you lean back, they don't engage very well. So I want something that's will engage in the beginning without having to set it and reset it and all those things. I just want to be able to tie it and have it work. So far, this is working very well. And you'll notice on this, the crossover is up at the top. With mechanicals and other ascenders and such, the spring action needs to be near the top of the mechanical or the friction device, because it's by that spring action and the lower force being applied to it is how we get that finger trap operation to happen. In this case, by pulling up here and pulling down there. I mean, obviously we're pulling down on everything, but having a force to spread this apart applies the friction on this inclined plane, and on the lower inclined plane, putting friction in 2 places on the Hitch Hiker, and with my prototype in 3 places. And then it's distributed evenly throughout the hitch, but the spring action up at the top is what's critical to get it all started. Also, what I've found that I like is my thumb. The way that I run this, the Hitch Hiker, you want the spine facing back towards you. So my thumb it's so comfortable, it just lays across the top of that. And it gives a little bit more of a platform without being a big top mechanical type ascender. It gives a little bit more of a platform for your hands to run. So I'm gonna keep playing with this, try it some more. Right now I'll do a quick video on how to tie it and how I tie the hitches for the Hitch Hiker. So this is how I start out. I've got a double overhand knot on one side, a couple inches of tail, and then we start our wraps. This would be typical of just a regular Hitch Hiker. So there's 1 wrap, there's 2 wraps, there's 3 wraps, and 4 wraps. I'll go with about 4 wraps. And then it's kind of like doing a distal after that, in that I start putting it underneath that top wrap. So it wraps there, and I'll do one more underneath that top wrap. So that ends up being the crossover at the very top. Then I'll just give that some snugging. This is a 9.3 millimeter Viper. It goes through the other side of the dog bone. Now on this side, you'll learn about how much to pull on it. If you snug it too much, then you'll end up with a hitch that's kind of tight. So get used to what you're going to use. But what I like about the stevedore on this side is that I'll make a loop right there. So it's kind of a left underhand loop. And then with the stevedore, I start doing the wraps towards the dog bone. I'll do one and twice. You'll notice that it goes up towards the dog bone, so it's working into the dog bone and keeping things snug. Then what I do is that comes around the back side, and that's it. Not sure what we'll call it. Maybe somebody's already invented it. I don't know. But that's what it is. So I got tired of climbing on my Xeon the other day, and I have a Petzl ZigZag that's been hanging on my wall. I climb currently with a rope that's got a spliced end on both sides, both ends. I know a lot of guys gonna go, oh, don't know why, but that's what I'm climbing on right now. And so I took and sewed an eye. This is KM3 Max. It measures about 11.5, which is adequate for the ZigZag, 11.5 to 13. And so I've got a steel snap on one end. I like the steel snap because it allows me to use my magnet once in a while. I can snag it when it's just out of reach. The attachment point for the ZigZag, this will actually, the snap will fit through that hole, and also the carabiner if I so choose, but the snap will fit. So I can use it in a regular configuration like this, or I can put it on both of my D's or suspension points. I can also get a pretty efficient 5-to-1 or 6-to-1 mechanical advantage right there. And then the other end has a typical end for the carabiner. On all of my ropes and on my lanyards now, I always have a length someplace specified. This is 15 feet. I think it's really important to always know the length of the rope you're climbing on. In this case, on my climbing line, I have this marked off at 100 feet. So there's no question when I go up in the tree. And I know one advantage to having a spliced end on both ends of your climbing line. I know what you guys are thinking. But one advantage to this is that I will never be able to ascend off the tail of this rope. So if I'm doing a doubled configuration or an on-bite redirect configuration or whatever it is, I won't come off of this. Now there is a chance over a period of time this might get stuck on something. Okay, I'll climb back up and get it. What I'm going to do, this is a running Alpine Butterfly cinched to my anchor. I'm about 96 feet here, and here's the other end. So what I'm going to do is, I'll go ahead and put this on right now, actually. We are going to demonstrate how flawlessly this hitchhiker switches over from SRT to doubled moving rope. And then on the way down, we'll add a prototype additional friction. Now, I haven't reset this hitch since I left the ground. All right. Alright, there we're switched over to doubled moving rope. We'll go down for a ways. That was pretty good. Stand on this branch and sit. There, I'm off my system on my lanyard. Pull that through. All right, so the cinched anchor is headed back up. Sure that it's in place. Load my system. Get this branch out of my rear end. And start back down again. There's a bit of creep there, which is kind of nice actually, but say you didn't want it to creep anymore, I probably will play with my hitch and put a few more on there. But for right now, let's say for some reason I needed to stop that creep. I might consider tying extra wrap up there. Maybe it's because it's a new hitch. At any rate, there's my additional friction and it's completely stopped any creep. So let's go the rest of the way down. It's adjustable on the fly. So this is new rope and a new hitch. And I think once it breaks in a little bit, some of that creep will go away, but if it doesn't, it's an easy fix. Ooh, that little bugger will burn your lip. And again, I have not touched this hitch. I mean, I used it, of course, but I haven't readjusted this hitch since I left the ground. So let's just, for right now, since we're on the ground, let's take a couple of stand-ups on it and make sure it's still engaging. Well, it's creeping, so we'll tighten it up. Okay, so that was a full ascent and descent and a bunch of things on that hitch. It was a brand new hitch cord, and I've climbed on this line a few times. But as you could see, there was some creep that developed, and I suspect a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's a new hitch cord. But my biggest concern is to always make sure that a hitch engages. So this hitch I've gone up with and come back down. I haven't retied it. I did put one more wrap in here. But the point I want to make right here is that you can see when that comes up, that tends to want to open that up a little bit. And when it comes down, it rotates and closes back down. After a long descent, it wasn't as easy to tend, but again, it's very easy to just, and every time I say it's very easy, it's not, but it seems fair enough. Just give that a tweak and it's right back to just being awesome. See, but you know, with my adjustable bridge, one other thing that I really like about it is this allows me to lengthen my stride a little bit because I attach right here with my Soka Mini. My Soka Mini is right there, so if I want to take shorter steps, I shorten my bridge. And there's a shorter step. If I want a little bit longer steps, I lengthen my bridge. Alright, this is the Marlowe Boa. With the hitch I like, yet to be named. And that's what I like about it. I can be guaranteed, it seems so far, that when I put it on, and I put it on the line, oops, just dropped my phone, I can go up and it's gonna set. Just like that. So now, I'll go back down and get my phone that just fell out of my pocket. Good thing I wasn't up very high. Walking up a ladder. Pretty tall ladder. So, I forgot, I just came up on this, made a few stops on the way. And that tends well. See again how it tends to rotate on itself and tighten that top. It rotates a little bit. That rotates, tightens that top down. That's exactly what it's doing. Goes up. See, it started to go that way, and then when you pull down on it, it rotates back this way and tightens down on the top, transmits that pull to the rest of the hitch. Now that is some pulling power. Now, if I was going to do a pick-off, this is my guy right here. I'm pulling myself up right now. There's a 6-to-1. I could lift anybody that's hanging on me right now. And if I'm standing over here and my victim is over here, I'm pulling down to 5-to-1. This is efficient. This is efficient. And if I really wanted to be efficient, I'd put a sling up there with pulleys. And I could lift 800 pounds easy. But even without going across a friction saver or anything up there, for those that like it interesting. But the test of that is how well that hitch engages. I think I would shorten my bridge if I was going to be doing this.